by proxy in this case.
Here's your car.
But that's not a thrill to build, MRC to me a buggy.
There's little to compare for sheer power and majestic grace.
The originators and leaders in off-road radio-controlled kits.
How confidently Albert's other bomber, and don't be deceived by the RAF Coastal Command colors, the B-17F Flying Fortress takes off. A typically polished performance from models that rank alongside their subjects as works of art.
Woomph! And to people who design, build and fly radio-controlled model aircraft, it's an expensive mistake. About as funny as landing a hot air balloon on top of a tree. This isn't kid stuff.
So I'm going to tell you right now that drones are not toys, unless sometimes they are, because of some very basic, simple reasons. So I was going to make this video regardless, but I got this interesting comment from somebody that said that people in FPV like to think that FPV is so much different than other RC hobbies. And they went on and on about whatever, it's just nerd shit, you know, yada, whatever. I don't even know. Well, I think partially it's similar, but it's different in so many different ways. And the first thing that really comes to mind is nobody's using RC airplanes, RC cars, crawlers, trucks, whatever, for any sort of commercial purposes. Like drones are more than things for hobbyists. I will admit that there is a level of nerd shit that goes into FPV, but what does that even mean? What, that you solder electronics? We live in the future. Electronics are like everything in our life. You know, it's not the 80s anymore where doing RC cars was kind of a nerdy thing. Was it? I don't know if it was. I was born in the 80s, so I don't really know I don't know what it was like then.
Would you consider it? But that's not an MRC to me.
Also, don't forget, go to deathquads.com and buy a shirt right now. I'm gonna try to come up with more designs soon. And if you want an idea for a design for a shirt, I can do it. Maybe, if it's good. If it sucks, I'm not doing it. See, drones are different because they're one of the things that you can use as a toy. Yeah, you can use it as a toy, or you can use it to make some money with it, or you can use it to create something. Not that it matters if you can make money off something or not, but you can make money with a drone. And when it comes to the other RC hobbies where there's no camera, it's just for amusement, you can't really do anything functional with it. Like when you're flying a drone getting footage, it's not about the drone, it's about the camera on the drone capturing the footage the same way that I'm using this camera to film this video. The focus isn't on the camera. No one gives a shit about the camera. The idea is that we're talking about the content that's being filmed onto the camera. And that's the same thing with drones. But with RC cars and RC planes, the focus is on the RC car and the RC plane. We're watching an RC car go around a racetrack. We're watching an RC airplane fly in circles in the air. Like that's what the focus is. If I'm wrong, if there's some sort of use case for an RC car or an RC airplane, you know, let me know. But I don't really think that there is, especially on the scale of what drones are used for. There's so many use cases for drones outside of just the hobby sphere. You can use drones in agriculture, all kinds of aspects for drone usage outside of just playing with it as a toy. And while yes, I do understand that there is an entertainment aspect to flying an FPV drone, or just a drone in general. Maybe you just want to look from the sky and you just want to take it in the air and look at your city. You know, maybe get some cool footage to post on Instagram. And now there's nothing inherently wrong with playing with RC toys like cars, airplanes, or whatever, or even using your drone for simply hobby purposes. I like doing all that stuff. But to say that FPV drones or even drones in general are the same as other RC hobbies is absolutely absurd. And I understand sort of the sentiment of why someone might think that. And I'm not gonna just disregard all the similarities. RC airplanes, they fly with the same radio that you would use on an FPV drone. So there is crossover. But even still, you have a disconnect between RC cars and RC planes. You know, not everyone who flies RC planes line of sight has RC cars, and vice versa. You know, and I know a lot of FPV people got into FPV first, then went to airplanes. But then there's also a lot of RC airplane people who got into FPV after doing RC airplanes. And there's also a lot of people who were into RC cars that then got into FPV. So there is a commonality and there is a crossover there. But as far as a hobby is concerned, or even just an application or a use of drones, it's completely different. And just because the hardware that's used in FPV drones specifically is very similar to the hardware that's used in RC airplanes or RC cars, doesn't mean that it's the same. Another reason that FPV is different than other RC hobbies is that FPV drones all have 4 motors. You know, RC cars only have 1. RC airplanes have usually a max of 2 motors. So there you go. Completely different. Here's how many motors it has. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. The main point is that drones, FPV drones, can be used as a tool, because most RC toys are simply just toys. But drones can be toys and they can be tools. But what is a toy? I'd like everyone to write me an essay of 25 words on what they think an FPV drone is. Actually make it like 100 words. Thank you.